I'm 75 now, and I can't remember anybody except the Queen being there.
You didn't throw things away. I mean, I'm that old. Often comes from your own family background.
I think change happens, but I don't care what anyone says. This wasn't any sort of endgame. She married the person she loved, and this is what happened. Something strange is going on inside Buckingham Palace, and it involves Queen Camilla's own son, Tom Parker Bowles, out of nowhere. He's been cut off from public life, and no one's talking. I suppose it's always because, it really comes from nothing more than greed. Really, I suppose. I'd like to say it comes from some high level, so I'm very greedy. There's no official statement, no court record, nothing, just silence. Sources say he's been sentenced behind closed doors, and whatever happened, it's big enough to make the palace panic. Why is the royal family covering this up? What could Tom have done that's so bad? They're pretending it never happened. This isn't just another royal scandal. This could shake the monarchy to its core, and once you hear the truth, you might never look at the British monarchy the same way again. The ultimate tribunal. It was an ordinary Tuesday morning, or so it seemed. Tom Parker Bowles, the royal family's most reserved son, walked into a nondescript government building in London's diplomatic quarter, blending in like any other citizen. No crowd gathered around, no flashing cameras. It was as if he wasn't the son of the Queen Consort herself. No paparazzi in sight, just the quiet murmur of the city, and an entrance so discreet that it could have belonged to a forgotten office, rather than a key figure in the royal drama. Tom, dressed plainly in a gray suit, with no designer labels or anything to stand out, didn't even spare a glance at the guards. Men without identification, their faces unreadable, their movements sharp, almost military. They escorted him through a private entrance, the kind of door you'd expect to see in spy novels. And then he vanished. But this wasn't just another royal appearance. It wasn't a visit to a glamorous gala or a charity event. It wasn't even a public event. What Tom was walking into that morning wasn't something anyone outside the highest echelons of the British government would understand. Inside, he would face something far more ominous. A tribunal. Not a trial. Not a courtroom. A small windowless room, the walls invisible behind the carefully orchestrated secrecy that surrounded it. No media, no audience. Just a panel of 3 judges, each with their own heavy security clearance. And a defense team that many sources claim wasn't chosen by Tom, but appointed by others. This wasn't a legal proceeding, said one insider, someone who had knowledge of the security protocols involved. It was risk containment, operating under the thinnest veneer of judicial process. The charges against Tom, they were never formally announced. There was no public statement to explain the gravity of what had transpired, but behind closed doors, whispers had already begun. Unauthorized communications with foreign powers, specifically, individuals with connections to foreign intelligence and international media outlets. Tom, a food critic and author, had carefully walked the fine line between royal connections and his independent career. But somewhere along the way, he'd crossed that line. It started innocently enough, discussions about food, culinary trends, and occasional exchange with his contacts in the industry. But as time went on, these exchanges took a darker turn. Sources close to the matter suggest that Tom's communications eventually involved palace operations, security details, and most alarmingly, private conversations between senior royals regarding sensitive matters of state. The monarchy's secrets weren't just leaking, they were being shared, and with the wrong people. For those who knew him, Tom's demeanor inside the tribunal was striking. He wasn't defiant or angry. Instead, he appeared resigned, almost as though he'd already accepted what was about to happen. His silence spoke volumes. When questioned, he spoke only when directly addressed, neither confirming nor denying the allegations. It was as if he knew the institutional machinery of the monarchy would ultimately trump his personal desires. He'd already understood. Family ties would always take a back seat to national security. When the ruling came down late that afternoon, the verdict was shocking. It wasn't prison in the traditional sense, but the result was no less severe. Tom was sentenced to what the tribunal called protective isolation for reasons of national security. No access to phones, no more writing, no visitors, unless approved by the highest authorities. A life removed from public view, confined to a location so secret that even most government officials didn't know where he was going. As he left the tribunal, escorted by officials, Tom reportedly made a single haunting statement. "Tell my mother I understand the necessity." What did he mean by this cryptic remark? Was it a statement of acceptance or a thinly veiled warning? One thing was clear. Tom had just been sacrificed for the sake of royal survival. The monarchy's power, its legacy, its very existence, none of it could be jeopardized, even if it meant alienating one of its own. Hours later, Tom was whisked away in a military aircraft. His destination a mystery even to his closest associates. Where was he going? Could this be the end of Tom Parker Bowles' connection to the royal family? And what does this mean for Queen Camilla, who must now navigate the fallout of her son's sudden disappearance? Let's uncover it one at a time. The secret operation to erase Tom Parker Bowles. The official statement from the palace came the morning after the tribunal. But if you were hoping for clarity, you were sorely disappointed. The message was short and vague. Tom Parker Bowles would be stepping back from public duties indefinitely due to private health matters, and the palace requested privacy for his personal situation. No mention of any legal proceedings or events. Nothing that would hint at the severity of what had just taken place. It was almost as if they were trying to pretend that nothing was wrong. But the lack of detail only fueled the fire of speculation among royal watchers. Behind the scenes, however, things were anything but ordinary. The palace was already moving quickly and methodically, working on more than just Tom's removal from the public eye. They were launching an operation to erase every trace of his activities. And we're not just talking about the usual PR cleanup. No, this was a full-scale, high-stakes operation that had every corner of his life under scrutiny. Specialized teams in digital forensics were dispatched immediately, targeting Tom's London apartment, his office, and even his country home. Computers? Seized. Phones and other devices? Confiscated. Physical documents? Taken. But what was most telling was the scope of the operation. This wasn't about simply gathering evidence. No, it was far more intense than that. As one source close to the operation revealed, this wasn't just about collecting materials. This was about scrubbing communication records, wiping out digital footprints, and creating an alternative narrative about his absence, one that would hold up under public scrutiny. They weren't just after the obvious evidence. The documents or files that might immediately point to something illicit. The treatment of Tom's professional workspace was even more revealing. The office where he wrote his famous food columns and books wasn't simply searched. It was dismantled piece by piece. Digital storage devices were removed. Reference materials, ones that had probably never crossed anyone's mind as important, were cataloged and carefully transported to secure locations. Even something as seemingly insignificant as appointment calendars or notebooks were treated like top-secret documents, handled with the utmost care and precision. Why such a level of caution? Well, according to insiders, it wasn't just about the materials already found. There was genuine concern about what other channels of communication might still be open. What Tom might have already sent off or hidden in plain sight. There was serious concern about dead drops, scheduled information releases, or material already positioned with publishers overseas, explained a former intelligence officer familiar with these types of operations. When someone with Tom's connection starts leaking sensitive information, the ripple effects can continue long after they've been contained. This growing concern pushed the operation into its next phase, neutralizing anyone who might have been an accomplice or could have furthered Tom's agenda. Editors who had worked closely with him were now under intense scrutiny, and publishers suddenly found themselves under pressure to cancel or delay any projects related to him. It was all part of an effort to sever any remaining ties to the world that might still be influenced by Tom. And the digital footprint? That was scrubbed clean. His social media accounts were either deactivated or altered, with new content replacing his old posts. His television appearances, many of which had touched on royal matters, were mysteriously erased from streaming platforms. Even photos of him attending royal-adjacent events were quietly removed from media libraries. It was as if he had never existed in the public eye at all. Perhaps the most troubling part of the operation was how they treated Tom's published work. His latest food columns disappeared from all archives. His cookbook was pulled from shelves with reports of corrected editions that never arrived. What was so dangerous about Tom's writing? Why were they so determined to wipe it all out? A literary analyst with experience tracking writers under government scrutiny had a chilling theory. Food writing offers a unique cover for transmitting hidden messages. Ingredients could be code names. Cooking methods might be operational signals. The locations of restaurants mentioned could be meeting spots. Could it be that Tom's seemingly innocent columns were much more than they appeared? Were they a veiled way of passing on royal secrets? Hidden within the recipes and food descriptions? Royal tensions and a family torn apart. Tom Parker Bowles' sentencing shook the royal family to its core, sparking a crisis that many insiders are calling the most significant since Prince Andrew's downfall. It's hard to imagine a more volatile moment for the British monarchy, where everything, family, duty, loyalty, is being tested, but the real story lies behind those closed palace doors, where personal pain and institutional duty collide in ways few outside the monarchy can truly understand. For Queen Camilla, this crisis was a brutal balancing act. On one hand, she's a mother, grappling with the shock and devastation of what her son is facing. On the other, she's the queen, bound by duty to protect the institution that she represents. What makes this even more painful is how the palace handled it. Sources say that Camilla wasn't consulted or asked for her approval. She was simply informed that the operation against Tom was already underway. It wasn't a mother being asked about her son's fate, said one palace insider. It was a queen being told about a security matter that was already in motion. Imagine that. To learn that your child is at the center of a royal crisis, and there's no time for discussion. No space for a personal response. It's all about the institution, and that's where King Charles comes in. While Camilla was torn between her personal emotions and royal duty, sources suggest that King Charles took a more detached approach. It wasn't about his son anymore. It was about the monarchy. For the king, the monarchy is everything, a royal advisor explained. Family comes second to the institution. Threats to the crown cannot be ignored. That mindset reportedly created some tension between Charles and Camilla. While Charles was thinking strategically, focusing on containment, Camilla was likely struggling with the reality of the situation. Could her role as a mother ever truly reconcile with the cold, calculated nature of royal duty? It's a question that has left the couple in a state of strained silence, far from their usual warm interactions. But it doesn't stop there. Prince William, though understandably upset, reportedly supported the action against Tom. While he might not have been thrilled with the circumstances, he saw it as a necessary step to preserve the monarchy's future. Insiders say William was aware of intercepted communications from Tom, and he understood their potential to undermine the royal family's neutrality on political matters, a foundational pillar of the monarchy's survival. In an unexpected twist, Princess Anne, the ever-dedicated royal, has been one of the more vocal critics. Known for her unyielding commitment to duty and protocol, Anne raised concerns about the precedent this set. Once we operate outside the law, we undermine the very system we claim to uphold, she reportedly said. What did Anne mean by this? Could the monarchy be heading down a dangerous path? One where extrajudicial actions could become the norm? And then there's Laura Lopes, Tom's sister, who has been left in the shadows of this drama. Unlike her brother, Laura has always preferred to stay out of the royal spotlight, but now sources say she has repeatedly tried to reach out to Tom, only to be blocked at every turn. Any attempt to contact him could implicate her as well, one insider revealed. It's a cruel tactic designed to maintain family compliance, a threat that's both subtle and deeply effective. But what does this mean for Laura's future within the royal fold? Is her loyalty being tested in ways that could change everything? As for Queen Camilla, sources say she's been left in an impossible situation. She can't openly grieve for her son, and yet, behind closed doors, the strain is evident. While she's expected to carry out her royal duties with grace, those who are close to her see the signs of her emotional toll, cancelled engagements, moments of distraction, and a subtle irritability that betrays her inner turmoil. Even in the privacy of her own quarters, Camilla holds on to a photograph of Tom as a child, hidden away in her desk drawer. A small, silent acknowledgement of the loss she can't publicly express. What does this mean for the future of the monarchy? Is the strain between the royals just the tip of the iceberg? Or are we about to witness a deeper rift, one that could change the British royal family forever? Charles and Andrew, a royal relationship on thin ice. What happens when blood ties and royal duty clash? For King Charles and his younger brother, Prince Andrew, that question has never been more relevant or more painful. Growing up under the watchful eye of Queen Elizabeth II, Charles and Andrew shared the same royal halls, the same traditions, and the same famous surname. But from the very beginning, their paths were wildly different. Charles was the heir, the one trained, shaped, and expected to lead. Andrew? Well, he was the spare, free to explore, free to bend the rules a little, and for a long time, free from the spotlight that comes with being next in line to the throne. Charles carried the weight of a crown. Even as a boy, every handshake, every school exam, every awkward teenage moment, watched, judged, and discussed. Meanwhile, Andrew seemed to live a more carefree life. He served with pride in the Royal Navy. He traveled the world, and he earned the nickname the Party Prince from the tabloids. He wasn't shy about enjoying the perks of royal life. But beneath the smiles and photo ops, some insiders say the brothers' relationship was never exactly warm. Was Andrew quietly jealous of Charles' role? Or did Charles feel burdened by a brother who often drew attention for all the wrong reasons? We may never know for sure, but the cracks became much more visible as they grew older. Then came the scandal that changed everything. When Prince Andrew's connection to Jeffrey Epstein became public, the damage to his reputation was swift and brutal. He was forced to step back from royal duties, stripped of titles, and erased from many public functions. But this wasn't just a personal fall from grace. It was a crisis for the monarchy. And Charles, newly crowned and painfully aware of the public's growing demand for accountability, had a difficult choice to make. Should he stand by his brother or stand by the institution? According to palace insiders, Charles didn't enjoy the role of royal disciplinarian, but he also knew the cost of doing nothing. With the monarchy already navigating a modern world filled with criticism, scandals, and questions about its future, Charles made what many see as a ruthless but necessary move. He put the crown first and his brother second. Today, Andrew remains in a strange royal limbo. He's not banished, but he's also not embraced. His public role is gone. His name is rarely mentioned at official events. And while Charles hasn't completely closed the door on him, it's clear that Andrew's days as a working royal are over, at least for now. But here's the twist. Behind palace walls, family dynamics are rarely that simple. So we are left wondering, can a royal family survive when its members are forced to choose between each other and the crown? What does this mean for future scandals, future mistakes, or future disagreements? And most of all, if this is the tension we see, what are we not being told? The truth may be more complicated than we ever imagined. But speaking of complicated royal ties, things are heating up fast between Charles and another key figure, Prince Harry. And if you thought the Andrew situation was messy, wait until you hear what's coming next. Prince Harry, the rebel royal prince. Harry has long been known as the Spare, a label often used for royals who aren't first in line for the throne. Growing up, he saw his older brother, Prince William, groomed for the role of future king while he enjoyed slightly more freedom. He was viewed as fun-loving and less burdened by rigid expectations. That Spare tag may have shaped Harry's personality, making him more open to new experiences and quicker to step away from palace traditions over the years. Harry's relationship with his father, King Charles, has become a focal point of public interest, particularly in his memoir, Spare. Harry talks about feeling overlooked or not fully understood. He refers to certain moments when he wished Charles had been more supportive, or involved on a personal level rather than focused on the weight of royal duty. At times, Harry's words paint a picture of a father-son bond that might still be mended, but only if both sides put in serious effort. While some see the tension as permanent, others believe reconciliation could happen if they find common ground and keep it away from the media spotlight. Harry's biggest falling out, however, seems to be with William. Once a tight pair, the two princes shared a special connection after losing their mother, Diana. But as adults, their paths split sharply. Harry recounts feeling that his interests and personal concerns didn't matter in the grand scheme of royal life, while William shouldered a huge sense of responsibility as the heir. The arrival of Meghan Markle introduced another layer of change. Harry felt a need to protect Meghan from what he viewed as unfair treatment, while William and others in the family may have seen the press coverage simply as part of royal life. The result was a deeper rift that Harry has publicly acknowledged in interviews, saying he's sad about the distance between them. What about Prince Andrew? Technically, Harry and Andrew have both been labeled spares at different points in history. Does that give them a bond? If so, it doesn't show up much in public. Andrew's scandal has forced the royal family to keep him on the sidelines. Harry hasn't openly aligned himself with Andrew, suggesting that rather than bonding with them, Andrew's troubles may have nudged Harry even further away from the traditional royal fold. After all, Harry left on his own terms, not because of scandal, but because he felt the system itself no longer worked for him. Prince William is often praised as the dependable face of a modern monarchy. From the time he was a boy, the world has watched him grow up. He's seen triumphs like his wedding to Catherine, Princess of Wales, and tragedies, including the loss of his mother, Princess Diana. Through it all, William has been groomed to take the throne after King Charles, meaning his every move is viewed through the lens of a future monarch. Being the heir shapes William's day-to-day life and how he relates to other family members. He carries himself with the seriousness expected of someone who will eventually wear the crown. This mindset sets him apart from Prince Harry, who famously sought more freedom away from royal duties. William, on the other hand, tends to follow the established script, attending official engagements, focusing on charitable causes, and supporting his father's reign. In public, he projects calm and stability, traits that make him popular with many Brits. Still, William's bond with King Charles isn't without its stresses. They share a common goal of protecting the monarchy, but they might not always see eye to eye on how to handle family issues. For instance, dealing with Prince Andrew's controversies or Harry's revelations can stir up strong opinions. Some watchers say William plays a key role behind the scenes, encouraging Charles to be firm in order to maintain the monarchy's image. In this sense, William acts as both a supportive son and a partner in guarding the crown. Of course, one of the most talked about aspects of William's life is his complicated relationship with Prince Harry. They used to be seen as inseparable, the two young royals who helped each other cope after Diana's passing. But but recent events, like Harry stepping down from senior royal duties and moving to the United States, have put a lot of distance between them. Add in Meghan Markle's presence, bringing her own experiences, media attention, and viewpoints, and it becomes clear that William and Harry inhabit very different worlds now. Harry has vented frustrations about palace life and family dynamics, while William has mostly stayed quiet, which some see as proof of a significant divide. When it comes to Prince Andrew, William has taken a hard line. He wants the focus on essential royal duties and forward-looking efforts. Scandals like Andrew's can pull the monarchy backward, damaging its public image. William is well aware that one day, he'll have to keep the institution strong, so he has supported the decision to limit Andrew's public roles. This stance shows how William is mindful of public opinion and the long-term health of the monarchy. William and Harry, from brothers-in-arms to miles apart. There was a time when William and Harry were like two peas in a pod, joking around, finishing each other's sentences, and walking through royal life with a shared sense of purpose. After their mother, Princess Diana, tragically passed in the late 1990s, these boys weren't just siblings, they were survivors. Side by side, they faced a relentless press, royal traditions, and the pressure of public life. For many watching around the world, they were the bright future of the monarchy. Young, relatable, and carrying Diana's legacy with grace. But something shifted, quietly at first, then all at once. Many point to the early 2010s. Around the time William married Kate Middleton, William was settling into his role as a future king and family man, while Harry found himself more on the sidelines. What once felt like a duo slowly started feeling like a one-man show, with Harry left trying to find his place. And when Meghan Markle came into the picture, that search got even more complicated. Meghan's arrival was a breath of fresh air to some and a storm cloud to others. The British press fixated on her, sometimes praising her for modernizing the monarchy, other times scrutinizing her every move. Harry, fiercely protective of Meghan, felt the weight of history repeating itself, especially after what his mother went through. William, ever the cautious one, reportedly advised Harry to take things slow, but Harry didn't want slow. He wanted something different. Then came the bombshell. Harry and Meghan stepping back from royal duties in early 2020. The headlines dubbed it Megxit, and suddenly the cracks between the brothers were undeniable. The once inseparable duo now appeared at events stiffly, if at all. Interviews and documentaries followed. Harry spoke openly about feeling unsupported. He questioned the royal family's inner workings. William, meanwhile, stayed quiet, holding tightly to the crown's code of silence and duty. What happened to the brothers who once leaned on each other through the worst moments of their lives? Some say they're different roles within the firm. William as the heir, Harry as the spare. We're always going to drive a wedge between them eventually. William was born to carry the institution forward. Harry was born to support it. But what happens when that supporting role starts to feel like a cage? Can they ever find their way back? Some royal watchers believe they can. That deep down, they still share the bond of those early years, shaped by loss, love, and laughter. They still both speak about Diana with admiration. They still support similar charities, but others think the hurt runs too deep. Harry's public remarks about feeling abandoned may have stung more than we know. And from William's side, there may be resentment about how everything was aired so publicly. Trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild, especially under the global spotlight. Public opinion remains divided. Many in the United Kingdom respect William for his quiet, unwavering commitment. He plays the long game, thinking of the crown's future. Meanwhile, Harry garners support for speaking his truth and standing up for his family. Two very different approaches, two very different visions of what it means to be royal. And yet, isn't there room for both? That's the question the monarchy now faces. Can it evolve to include both the steady hand of tradition and the bold call for change? Or will it have to choose? As for William and Harry, only time will tell. Will a major royal event bring them back together? Will their children someday bridge the gap they left behind? Or will history remember them as brothers torn apart by the very system they were born into? What do you think? Is reconciliation on the horizon? Or is the rift too deep to mend? Because next, we're diving into a much bigger question. What does all this mean for the future of the monarchy? Is this just a rough patch? Or the beginning of a royal unraveling? The future of the monarchy, with William and Harry walking separate paths and the royal family facing more public pressure than ever before. It makes you wonder, what does the future of the monarchy really look like? King Charles may be wearing the crown now, but his reign began in a world that's very different from the one his mother ruled. People are asking tougher questions, especially younger generations who aren't sure if the royal family still fits into modern life. William seems to be next in line with a clear plan, steady, traditional, and loyal to the system. But with Harry's exit and ongoing criticism, there's now a spotlight on everything the crown represents, both good and bad. Can the monarchy truly evolve without breaking apart? Or is it holding on to something that no longer works in today's world? And what about the next generation? George, Charlotte, and Louis? Will they face the same pressure? Will they be ready to carry it all when the time comes? Or is it possible that the crown could fade away entirely? Thanks for watching, fam. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. For a more thrilling story, check out the next video that pops up on your screen.